Hi everybody, welcome to the Creative Corner, an opportunity to get inside the head, the heart and the soul of the authors that are with Ocean Reeve Publishing. Really exciting time to actually sit down and explore that creative expression. And joining me in the studio is Thor. Josh, how are you, mate?
I'm doing really well. How you been?
Not too bad, bro, not too bad. What have you been up to? Give me something new.
Something new. Well, this is my second author interview and I'm really excited.
Well, you wouldn't know because like that first one we did, I made more mistakes than you did.
That's true. So maybe it's my turn today, but I don't think so.
I'll just go home and leave this all with you.
Yeah, I can take it from here if you like.
All right, no. No, because I've really been looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to sitting down with Kym Cousins, the author of this beautiful book here, which is Selling with Heart. Fantastic publication. Kym, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome. Well, tell the viewers, who is Kym?
Well, I grew up in Adelaide. I'm the youngest of 4 children. And I learnt to be very independent, very capable from an early age. My father was a musician entertainer and probably don't need to say much more than that. But my mother left the family when I was only 5 years old.
Oh.
So that really set me up to be, look after myself, be very determined in, if I was to make something happen for myself. It sort of started from that early age. And so the book's all about selling, and I learnt to sell things to get a few coins to give me some choices and some fun and things that I wanted to do. So, I used to pick flowers in our garden and go and sell posies to the neighbours. And then sort of growing up, I learnt to do lots of jobs for people and earn a bit of money along that way. And, I had a lot of time on my hands. And so growing up with mum not around, so I watched a lot of TV. And TV really sort of spurred this thought of, I want to be, rich and famous, and I want to travel to exotic places and what have you. So it really sort of quelled a bit of a desire to travel. So I was all about working hard, earning money so that I could travel.
Okay.
And I didn't even finish school because I was just itching to get out there and travel, and did so for about 3 years. As you do in your early 20s, but I worked as well, and I ended up being a tour guide in Russia, Scandinavia and across Europe. So I was able to work, earn money and travel and have a hell of a time, I must say. Don't want to say any more about that.
Well, look, this is the amazing thing about doing these interviews is that I've known you a long time. You've worked with Josh for a long time. There are things we find out about you guys that we don't know in these interviews. So I'm seriously telling you, we had no idea.
I could see the look on your face. You're like, whoa, I haven't heard this before. It's probably not something that a lot of people know because it's sort of tucked way back. But I guess I mention it because it does sort of, all these things growing up mould you and sort of what your thoughts. And so I could have travelled forever. But I came home and it was time to get serious, so I went back and did some more study and ended up working in the corporate world in Sydney in IT sales. And, I've had this successful long career, and along the way I met my husband, and I have grown-up teenage kids, and they're also following footsteps in the business world. So yeah, that's sort of where I come from, and I think that independent thing, the independence is a bit like I can do everything on my own. Yeah, right. Which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit more later as well.
So that whole journey, obviously travelling around the world, going to corporate, all that structure and routine, where did the idea of bringing a book to life come from?
Actually, that's a really good thought, because I have put a little bit in the book about it, and it came from, I think I was probably about 19 or 20, I went to a clairvoyant. And she read my tea leaves.
The story just keeps coming. This is great.
How did you read my book?
Look, I mean, you know my role, girl. It's but this is great. Keep going.
She read my tea leaves, and I remember she put a cassette tape in the player to record this session. And amongst a few things she talked about, she said, "You're going to be an author." And I said, "Yeah, right, everyone says that." She says, "I don't know what you're writing a book about yet, but I can see you writing a book." And I did not think anything of it, except that another thing that she said in that session pretty much ended up happening. It was to do with someone else in my family. And that happened, and it sort of made me think, I could actually be an author. And I forgot to bring it with me today, but I have a book at home. I should send you a picture of it.
Yes.
A book at home I wrote when I was at high school. It was a fiction book about an explosion in an underground mine, an opal mine in 𝘾𝙧𝙚𝙧𝙣. And I've illustrated it and I've bound it and I got A+ for it. And so that was actually my first book.
I love this. This is so good. This is so cool.
So this is my second book. No, it's my real book.
Look,
so,
when was the tea leaf ready?
Oh, I was 19 or 20 at the time. But then thinking about writing a book I was at a women's business conference in 2017 on the Sunshine Coast, and you did a presentation there and you talked about the publishing journey and how you could bring a book to life. And you actually made reference to a number of authors in the audience. And I'm thinking, I know some of these women in the audience and they're authors. And I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it too.
I remember that. It was Shine with Zoe. Yeah, that was cool. That was very, very cool. I think it's time you go and get another tea leaf reading. Because, my God.
Oh, that'd be too scary.
Who is Selling with Heart aimed at? Who is the target market for this book?
Well, the target market is for anybody who has ever had some reluctance to sell because they don't want to come across as pushy and salesy and icky. And that is many, many people I've been meeting in the last couple of years in the small to medium business world. But when I think back in my corporate sales career, there were people in sales roles that were still reluctant to sell because they didn't want to be like that. And I was that person. I was in those sales roles being asked to sell in a certain way and being sent along to training courses and methodologies, and you do this and you say this and what have you, but it never felt right for me because it was too salesy. But the thing is, you have to sell to be successful. You have to, if you have a business, you have to sell. Even if you're in a corporate role, you have to sell yourself. You have to sell your thoughts and your ideas. Even in a family, you need to sell your idea of where you want to go to on the next holiday. So selling and being comfortable with it and doing it in a way that's natural and from your heart and connects with your own values comes across as really natural and it's not salesy. So I wanted to put the learnings that I've had and help people see that it's a really natural thing to do, and it's not, you don't have to be a salesperson, but you do need to learn to sell to be successful.
There's a lot of books out there around sales, processes, scripts, pitches, those kind of things. I'm really curious because what you touch on is something that a lot of people overlook in that process, which is that passion, like the why they're doing it, the feeling. What sort of feedback have you had, considering that is such a hurdle for so many people in that sales process?
Yeah, the feedback I've had has been really, really good. And in particular, what I talk about in the book is understanding what you're really selling and taking the emphasis away from yourself and putting it on your customer. So if I say I'm selling, an example I had, I sell watches. Well, it's not about me selling watches, it's about the customer arriving on time to an appointment.
That's good.
That's just one little example. So the feedback I've had is, oh my God, Kym, I never thought about, it's not about what I sell, it's about the outcomes I create for my customer. It's about what they get from what it is I provide with my goods and my services. Other feedback I've had, and this is where it really gets interesting for me, is that business people who've been wondering why they haven't been able to be successful and grow their business because they've spent lots of money on marketing, and marketing gets the customer to your front door, but selling invites them in the front door and creates an engagement and a connection with them. So it's that confidence to do that people just don't sell because they're not confident and they don't want to be like that. But like that is exactly how you shouldn't be anyway. But they're caught up in the stereotypes that I think Hollywood perpetuates quite a bit.
It's a great point around that marketing, and I think that's a really good point for anyone listening at the moment about the marketing is to the door. It's not the whole process. It's not that whole transition from here it is, this is what it is, this is how it's going to make you feel. It just gets them to the door, and I agree. I think it does create a lot of conflict for people when they do get to the door. It's like, oh, okay, now we're here, what do I do?
I've always been gravitated to the concept of the book. And first off, this book is for every single author that is looking at becoming a published author and market their book. You've got problems with selling, because most authors are introverts,
Is that statistically?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, now you touch on another one of my pet subjects as well.
Tell us more.
Well, it's sort of a big change happened for me just a few years ago, where I was sent along to become a Myers-Briggs certified practitioner. So introvert, extrovert, thinking, feeling, all those different personality traits. And I'm an introvert, and people say, "What, really?" I'm like, yeah, that's okay. I can extrovert all day long. But at the end of the day, introvert, extrovert is not about being quiet or loud. It's about how you derive how you re-energise and recharge. So I can be crazy extrovert all day, but I like to then go and recharge in a quiet space at night. So back in my day, in the beginning of my career, it was talked about salespeople need to be these extroverted, talking people out there in front, crazy, party, all the rest of it. But they forget that not all customers are like that, and customers get really turned off by that. And that's where that sort of icky, salesy thing comes into play, in that introverts in particular are proven, and I've had them in my teams, ask really good questions and shut up and listen to what the customer really wants and their needs and what's important to them. And so that's why there's a lot of extrovert, introvert referenced and thinking, feeling and that type of thing in the book as well.
Well, it is true. I mean, the majority of authors are introverts, and then when they haven't got the right tools or understanding of what it means to sell, they struggle with taking that step. And you've just absolutely proven the point there, that there are ways to be able to work through those barriers and those hurdles. And what gravitated me most to the book was that I've been told so often that I'm a great salesperson. And I'm thinking, no, well, actually I've had no formal sales training in my life, and so I don't know where you're getting that from. Then they follow it up by going, oh, but you're so passionate about what you do. And that's because I believe in what I do. And so I've created this philosophy that life is sales, sales is influence, influence is based on having belief in what you do and having values towards what you do. And I don't see it as selling, because I'm sitting there talking to somebody about how wonderful it is to become a published author. And I just really resonated with me when we were talking about bringing this book to life. What do you want it to achieve? What is the mission with it? To make people feel like that? What is it?
I want people to understand that it is okay to sell. Selling's not a dirty word. I mean, that's my catch cry. Selling's not a dirty word. And when I say selling, like you said, you're selling through passion and belief, that you know what it's like from your customer. Your customer is your potential author. You know what it is that they can achieve by being an author, and so you're connecting your values with them. Yes. In that you want the very best outcome for them. You're not selling your publishing services. You're selling the concept of them becoming an author. So what I want, what I want this to achieve is for anyone who thinks that they can't do something, they absolutely can. I make reference to motivations in there, and one of them is you're never too old to ...
What I love about author interviews, and you've seen this is your first day of doing author interviews.
Yes.
Don't mind me, I just had an epiphany, which I have to. Flash and I always felt this, that when you're sitting down with the authors and you've come out of the journey of publishing and marketing, there's an element that the authors light something inside of you. You getting this right now?
Yeah, I mean, when you came in, I just thought to myself, you are the most dedicated to this book, to your brand, than anyone I know that I've mentored. You've got hearts on your handbag, you've got hearts around your neck. I'm pretty sure you've got heart earrings, and we've got the Selling with Heart book, and you really do embody what it is that you do. And when you talked about that process of you're never too old, I absolutely agree. If you have that passion, that energy, that belief that that is what you're supposed to do, then age is no barrier. And that really resonated with me, and something that I'll take away from this, from that discussion.
So Thor, you're never too old to... You're on camera, mate.
I know. I'm never too old to believe that I can still do whatever I want to do, however old I am.
That's beautiful. You got a question there for Kym?
I do. Kym, you and I, we work closely marketing your book and going through that process, but what was the writing process like from you when you first started to put pen to paper right up until having this incredible book?
Interestingly, I surprised myself in that the writing came quite easily. I had to relearn a bit of grammar and stuff in the beginning, but there are people and apps that can help you with that sort of thing. So the writing process flowed quite freely. I'd like to be writing a whole lot more. I guess that was it really. The writing itself came easily.
What about publishing? What about going through the journey working with... that's good.
Yeah, I led that question, didn't I? Yeah, well, that's it. What I learned from the publishing process is you cannot do that alone.
That's a good one.
Not a chance. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back from writing a book or publishing a book. Because I know I've spoken to people that, or other women that says, yeah, I've written a lot. I've got a book together. I'm like, well, what are you doing with it? Oh, I'm not ready yet. They're not ready for what? It's the rest of the process is quite involved, and you do need to work with the experts like you guys to bring that to life. There's some technical aspects of doing that I don't know how anyone could do it on their own. So the writing part is the first part, the publishing part is the second, and then as we've been talking about, then the rest of your life is the next part.
You're absolutely right. When you worked through the book, there was so many people involved in that process, and they were all behind the scenes from when you first met me right through to going to print. Like, you didn't even know who the guy that was pressing the green button on the print machine is. There's so many people involved in this journey, and what I've always known but haven't really implemented until maybe the last 5 or 6 years is that there needs to be a community where when authors want to take that leap, and as you mentioned, women that have written books but they're not ready yet. When they want to make that leap, they know they can become a part of a community. And when they've got that, there's a safety element to that and a lot of security with that. And then you step into a marketing space, which, as you well know, because you're the expert in sales, can be quite challenging if you've never done it before. That extension of that community by working with Josh or working with myself really makes it much easier to move forward and to take that leap of faith if you've never done it before. And I'm just proud of the fact that we've owned that. We're working with authors that also get it.
Absolutely. And what I loved seeing from you, Kym, was your dedication around marketing in the social media space. I've always seen you so active in there, especially around LinkedIn. I know you've been a huge help to not just other businesses, but a number of authors as well. And with all that work you've got going on, what's next for you? What's happening in the future?
Yeah, well, this year is very much business growth for me. So I've got lots of the foundations, the principles in place. This year was always meant to be a big focus on building my business, which is focused on sales coaching, sales training. The plan for launching the book was the end of March, and I planned a fantastic party and cocktails on the water and all that sort of stuff. And I had to end up being a Zoom launch, which actually had some great benefits, which was I was able to reach a whole lot more people that wouldn't have been able to attend an in-person
You had
launch.
people from all around the world at that.
Sorry?
There were people from outside Australia at that.
Yes. And I think it was also the starting, not a lot of people even knew how to get onto Zoom at that time, so it was a good learning curve for everybody. But what that has also, this whole season of, call it a season of Zooming, has meant for me is that I've been able to expand my business because I'm now coaching people all around Australia, and there are businesses who really need a lot more help with their sales. And in particular, right now, we do want to be selling with empathy and sincerity and heart, which I've always espoused anyway, but there are people now saying that's absolutely how we need to be. So we need to understand what that means. So growth mode for me this year in that, I'm proactively marketing and attracting new customers in doing so. And I really want to work more in getting an online training program in place, and I've got lots of material and things prepared for that. It's really just getting to the next steps of making it happen and getting it out there.
It's really interesting that your book and that online book launch that you had was amazing, because obviously with all the restrictions, that's just the way it was, but it sounds like it was the catalyst to go deeper into that market of online promotion, online books. So it's incredible, even though that was a difficult time for a lot of people, it's kind of triggered this whole new process for you and a new business model that maybe you couldn't have had otherwise. And I think that's pretty special.
Absolutely, Thor, and timing is perfect because, like you just said, this is the time that people need to re-engage their sales process and their methodology to actually adapt to this changing world that we're living in. Speaking of adapting and changing, let's ask a question that's got nothing to do with the book and knows a little bit more about Kym. Eh? What do you reckon? What do you reckon? Kym, as a creative, which you are, what would be your spirit animal and why? I love the look she just gave me.
My family would say I'm a dragon.
Oh, really? Okay, well.
But dragons are misunderstood.
Okay, explain that.
You know, all fire and you know, fierceness on the outside, but underneath very loyal and protective. Now think about the dragon in Shrek.
Okay, yeah.
Most people have watched Shrek, I'm sure. You think about this dragon, everyone's really scared of the dragon, but really, dragon, you know, just love donkey and they end up having this beautiful family together.
Love that.
I'm really curious for my question then. On the back end of that is, what superhero would you be and why?
Well, I'll say there's two answers to that. One, which I'll just say and then we'll park that, and that is I have to be super salesperson.
Oh, nice. That's good.
But really, I guess probably the superhero I relate to is Mrs. Incredible.
Oh.
From The Incredibles.
That's a first. Why?
Well, Mrs. Incredible, you know, has lots of great qualities, lots of superpowers, but she sort of put them on hold to support her husband and you know, his superpowers, and then raise these children who have their own superpowers. But my God, when anything came to threaten her family, she just put that incredible suit back on, a bit tight, but she put it back on and saved everybody, saved the world.
Do you know what I think with the connection from my perspective is that her ability was to adapt and change to her environment.
That was right.
Quickly.
She's Mrs. Stretchy.
She can stretch, so she can move easily, go in the surroundings differently and come out on top, which she did. And that reminded me of your book and your book launch and everything that you do. So,
look, I think, you know, one of the greatest things about working with authors is you get to really see all these different parts of them. Today we've learned a lot about you we didn't know, which is so cool. And I think what people will find when they read Selling with Heart is that they're not just going to learn, you know, the corporate or business or professional side of what it means to sell, but through you sharing your story and sharing your insights, and like you just did then, the dragon and Mrs. Incredible, you get to learn about the person that's walked the walk. And that really matters when you're stepping into sales and marketing, without a doubt. If you've worked with somebody or you've learned from somebody that's already had that journey authentically, which growing your business with authenticity and trust kind of highlights that this is the book for you. It just makes it way easier to do. Kym, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. I was talking about, you learned about me. I think I learned about me too today.
Awesome.
that's a good outcome.
I love that. I love that. So now you guys need to learn a little bit more about yourselves and how to sell with heart. So what I'd like you to do is just go down to the link at the bottom of the screen. Click on that. You'll go and learn all about Kym's sales coaching, everything else she offers, and of course get your copy of this fantastic book. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on The Creative Corner.